From Fox 8 Sports, this is the Overtime Podcast.
From the Fox 8 studios in New Orleans, this is the Fox 8 Overtime Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Fazende, riding shotgun as he does each and every podcast. This is Andre Johnson.
Junior.
Do not forget the Junior. Very important to remember the JR at the end of the name. Before we get into today's content, be sure to like, to share, to rate, to review. If you are watching us on YouTube, please do us a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Get the bell notification. But when we drop that, fire content. Also, hello, the Gulf Coast Sports and Entertainment Network. Glad you have found us here. Hope you hung with us all day on Sunday. We had some pregame shows. We had some postgame shows. We got these podcasts. So if you're here, thank you. And do us a favor. Tell your friends. Let everyone know. The Gulf Coast Sports and Entertainment Network is expanding its options. And we are here to provide all the content we can for this wonderful network. So with that in mind, Andre, it is Monday. Still waiting on a victory Monday in the city. Hadn't happened yet. Saints fall to 0-2 in a game that was obviously much more winnable by the time it rolled around than it was, say, when the schedule makers made it.
Yeah.
But yet here we are on this Monday. The Saints sit 0-2. Saints have not won a game in a really long time. They've not won a home game in even longer. I think it was November of last year, the last time they won a home game. So it's been a long time since the Saints won a game. They fell to the San Francisco 49ers and Mac Jones 26-21. We're going to get into it, but first things first, how you feeling?
I'm feeling good. You know, I had a good time in Levi Stadium in San Francisco. Oh, excuse me. That game was in New Orleans, wasn't it?
I was wondering where you were going with that.
You could have fooled me because when we stepped in the dome, I have never seen so many jerseys for the other team. Either the San Francisco 49ers fans travel incredibly well, or we got a lot of low-key Niner fans in the city, but it felt like a sea of red in the dome yesterday. Still a big pro-Saints crowd, but it was probably the first time since I've been going to Saints fans, which for me has been over 20 years, that I've seen such a strong showing from the away team.
Yeah, it's been a long time since there's been a takeover like that. The closest thing I can remember was 2023. Detroit was here, but I would say it was still more Saints fans than Detroit fans. I'm not sure that was the case in the dome
when
Sunday.
We were in the tunnels, and you know, when we're in the tunnels and we can't see the game,
a
lot of times when you hear people cheering, it's like, oh, something's good happening for the Saints. Then you look at the TV and it's like, oh, no, that's an incompletion. That's the Niners.
That was the Niners fans. And they traveled well back in 2019 when they played, when the Saints were a contender back then and the 49ers were a contender back then. They traveled really well then. I think the 49ers made the Super Bowl that year, if I'm not mistaken. But it was still more Saints fans. And I remember that game being a little frustrating for the front office and for the the people obviously within the organization because of I had that many away fans back in the Saints' hometown stadium. And look, the Saints fans used to do this in other. I traveled to all the games, so Saints fans do this in other cities, especially when they were winning. But it looks like the reverse is happening here, so I'll be very curious to know their response to this. But it was a home game, didn't always feel that way, and they fall 26-21 against the team, Andre, that going in looked formidable but wounded. And you even went so far as to say this is the most winnable game in their schedule. They did not do that. So they fall to 0-2, and no one's happy about it. And I will get to that a little bit later, just some of the vibes from the organization after that loss in contrast to the first loss. But first things first, we got to talk about what we talk about a lot on this podcast, and that's where we want to go with the big picture. Please set me up.
Yeah, Spencer Rattler starting, still looking for his first win in the NFL. 25 for 34 yesterday, 207 yards, 3 passing touchdowns, no interceptions, but he had an opportunity to go down the field and win the game at the end, and he couldn't do it. He fumbled on the last play that the Saints had. Niners recovered, game over. But we got to do the Rattler review regardless, Sean. How would you assess his performance yesterday in the dome?
Yeah, you talked me into this one, man. I was going to give this a different day, but it's like, we got to talk about it today. I was like, all right, we're going to talk about this today. All right, what to make of Spencer Rattler's second game of the season, 8th start of his career? Honestly, I got no complaints. I really got no complaints. Realistically, with where expectations currently of him are, I thought he played pretty well. In fact, you read off the stats, and at one point I looked at you and I said, it feels like he's thrown for more yards than that. It felt like he actually threw for more than the 207 he actually threw. The word I keep coming back to for Sunday's performance is solid. He was solid, efficient, competent, executing what is asked of him, made some gutsy runs in certain situations that was certainly admirable. Yeah. I believe if you just put the entirety of the Spencer Rattler experiment into context from last year into this year, I think he is now successfully moved into he's not the reason they are losing games category, and helping put his team in positions to have a chance to win category. And that has to be acknowledged. That has to be acknowledged, Andre, because last year that was not the case.
That's true.
The 6 games he played last year, the 6 games he started, he played in 7, but the 6 games he started, they were losing games by an average of nearly 3 touchdowns. They weren't competitive, which is a hard thing to be in the NFL because of the way the league is set up. This year, they've lost 2 games by an average of 6 points? It was a 5-point loss and then a 7-point loss in week 1. And they had a chance with the ball in their hand at the end to win it. That is tangible growth for a second-year player who was picked in the 5th round, who was playing a lot more ball than anyone thought he would ever play when he was picked with that 5th round pick in 24. In this game in particular, to be specific, some positives. I thought he was better with explosive plays. Felt like they got to the 2nd and 3rd level much better, especially that 2nd level, the intermediate. I thought he was better in the red zone. They finished, I think they were 3 for 3. He extended plays well with his legs. So I thought all that was certainly positives. A few negatives. Did not think he was quite as sharp against the blitz against the 49ers as he was against the Cardinals. He did have a touchdown against the blitz, but overall I felt like he was probably a little more comfortable against the Cardinals blitz than the 49ers blitz. And also this is probably, it's him, but it's also big picture. The offense started lethargic once again. And that's not just on Rattler, as I said, obviously, but it's to the point now, Andre, we were joking about this in the office. Mm-hmm. Just start the game in tempo. Yep. Just start the game in no huddle, because after their first drive fell apart, bad miss by him in the end zone. I went back and rewatched it. Yes, Olave may have been able to catch it because his hands got on it, but it was behind him. But after that drive, when that fell apart, offense went to just non-existent for the next 4 drives until the final drive of the first half when they went tempo. So they were 0 for their first 4. Then in the tempo range, they went touchdown, touchdown, fumble, touchdown. So 3 for their next 4. But then unlike last week where they were down 10 at the 4-minute mark of the 4th quarter and had to rally the final 2 drives to get back into the game, this game they were in it for their final 2 drives with a chance. But this time they go 0 for 2 to close it out. And neither one of those drives, last 2 drives, looked nearly as good as week 1's final 2 drives, where obviously they got themselves back into the game. And that's where I'm ultimately at with Rattler. He is playing better. He is playing better. He has shown tangible growth. He has improved. He's playing decent, competent, solid quarterback football. And he is not the reason they're losing games. He is not the reason they're losing games. But the next step has to be, and this is, Rat Pack, you got to join us on this one, because honestly, I know y'all want your guy to win games, and we do too. Yep. The next step has to be not just playing good enough to not lose. What is that? Got to take it to the next level to where he is the reason why this team is winning games. Let's move out of the, we're competing well in losses phase to, no, we're competing better than the other team in winning phase. I think that's got to be the next step in his evolution, which is obviously something that's evaded him for the last 8 games. But bottom line, final grade, I'm going to give it a solid B. A solid B performance against the San Francisco 49ers. I'm going to turn it over to you, my friend. Go ahead.
Yeah, I need to talk to the Rat Pack today. You
know,
for some reason, despite my incredible amount of honesty about Spencer Rattler, they think I'm a hater. So let me say, based off what I saw Sunday in the Dome, for the first time, I think Spencer Rattler played very well. When you look at the numbers, it says so, 25 for 34, a few more passing attempts than I would like for him, but the flow of the game kind of demanded it. 207, 3 touchdowns. Take care of the ball. That's something you ask from Spencer Rattler. Check. He didn't put the ball in danger. Not even an interception that got overturned like week 1. He made very good decisions with the ball. 0 interceptions. Throw the ball down the field. That was another thing we talked about during our podcast last week. He did it. Early on in the game, he had the deep shot to Rashid Shaheed on the sidelines. He really worked the intermediate area. He did a good job stretching the field and making the defense have to cover not just 10 yards, but 30 yards. But he was also able to get the ball out quick, and that's kind of what Kellen Moore was always talking about with Rattler is decisiveness. He was 11 for 14 on quick passes Sunday against the Niners. All 3 of his touchdowns, he got the ball out in less than 2.5 seconds. That's what you want out of a young quarterback. You want him to be quick. You want him to be decisive. Those are the factors that ultimately won him the job over Tyler Shuck. He went out there and he did that. And even in the 25 for 34, he did have a few bad drops, 2 of them by Juwan. He had a situation where the Saints had momentum and they were moving. He completes a pass to Alvin Kamara and a fumble by AK, which is pretty uncharacteristic of him. I can't cut him a break, like you said, on the touchdown to Olave. Olave had 15 yards in front of him with nobody there.
That's on him.
You got so much space to put that ball, and you throw it behind him in that situation. That one is on Rattler, so I cannot credit, I'm not talking, when I say drops, I'm not clearing him of that one, but the ones to Juwan, that's not on him. And I was looking at the NFL Pro Stats against the blitz, which is also something that we said he needed to do better at. He's 11 for 17, a 118.9 passer rating.
For the season?
For the season, in these 2 games with 3 touchdowns against the blitz. So compared to how he struggled last year, he has improved with the blitz. So all of those things are good things that he did on Sunday. I do think that he played really well. Without a doubt, the best game of his career. He is not the reason they lost on Sunday. But, however, he could have been the reason they won on Sunday. All of these things are true. He played really well. That was the best game of his career. He played okay. We both gave him C's. He played above average in week 1. But at the end of the day, you got to finish the deal. Wise man, it depends on your outlook. We'll say a wise man once said, you have to look beyond the results when you talk about the New Orleans Saints. We didn't like that statement very much. I remember you guys commenting on it. You didn't like that statement very much when your GM, Mickey Loomis, said you have to look beyond the results. We're not looking beyond the results, so we have to look at the results.
We have to.
The result is 0-2 for the Saints. The result is the Saints played an incredibly beatable Niners team. Any excuse the Saints can make, the Niners were without their starting quarterback. They were without their best pass catcher in George Kittle. They even lost Kyle Juszczyk, who's a huge part of that offense. And they still were on the road, came into the Dome, and left with a win in a game where Spencer Rattler had the ball with an opportunity to go down the field, score a touchdown, and win the game.
Twice.
Twice. 2 times. In week 1, Spencer Rattler had the ball with an opportunity to drive down the field, score the ball, and whether they go for 2 and try to win it or kick the extra point and try to get into overtime, either way, this is 2 weeks where the game was winnable for the Saints against 2 teams that were not elite. The ball has been in Spencer Rattler's hands with an opportunity to win it, and he didn't do it. So I'm separating these 2 things. He played well. He played very well. I was more impressed by Spencer Rattler Sunday against the Niners than I ever have been. He's shown a lot of improvement. He did pretty much everything you would ask him to do, except for, here's the other part, win the game. Because when you look at the results, 0-8 as a starter now, 0-9 in games he's played. At some point, the level of play has to match the result. We cannot look past the result, as Mickey Loomis once said. We have to judge him on his play, yes, but also of the result of the game. That was a winnable game on Sunday. That was a winnable game last Sunday against the Cardinals. They lost both of them in situations where Rattler had the ball, driving down the field at the end of the game, and had an opportunity to change that outcome. He didn't do it. But grade-wise, B+. I give him a B+.
Okay, yeah, I gave him a solid B. You gave him a B+. I mean, so that's tangible growth from week 1 to week 2. And look, I'm right there with you. And because I think the only consistency from week 1 to week 2 that you can kind of lean on is, okay, they got to start faster. They got to figure out a way to get into a rhythm quicker. They can't, you can't have your first points be the final drive of the first half. I thought the second half flipped a little bit because felt like second half wise, against Arizona, especially the third quarter, we were in the box thinking, okay, this is an ugly loss, and all of a sudden the script flipped when they had the blocked field goal, and they were able to rally. This one, it was kind of going shot for shot a little bit, 19-14, then it was 26-14, then they cut it to 26-21, and they got the stops they needed with 2 opportunities to finish with plenty of time, and they weren't able to do so. Whereas last week, they needed those last 2 drives to rally and get back in the game. They had 2 chances to not rally, but take over the game, and they weren't able to do so. At some point, it has to line up. Yep. It just has to line up. You said something on the way out last night. I thought it was interesting. And I even stole it in my blog. It feels like a chronic case of almost.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like if and almost and close. And that's not just Rattler. This is really the entire team right now. And it is early. And maybe this is a sign that they're getting closer and improving to being the team they want to be. But at some point, you got to be there. And almost does not count. So, and I think, honestly, Rattler's performance was good. But at some point, that good effort has to line up with a victory, which is usually the case in the NFL when the quarterback plays well. If you have a competent defense, which we can get into that. Usually, when the quarterback makes enough plays to win, that ends up happening. It just has not happened for Spencer Rattler in his 8 starts. When he spoke last night after the game, we didn't get a chance to talk to him one-on-one. I wonder if it's starting to wear on him a little bit because the tone was a little bit different. We're going to get in the tone of Kellen Moore in a second, but the tone was a little bit different. He wants to win.
Of course.
He's a competitor. He wants to win. He's working his butt off. You just hope at some point it turns for him, and hopefully he does enough and not get discouraged to eventually be the guy holding the ball at the end with an NFL victory in a game that he started.
Yeah, and you mentioned tone. The Saints have played 2 games. Mm-hmm. 1 result for both of them. They both lost. But there's been 2 different tones. Mm-hmm. The tone after the Cardinals loss and the tone after the 49ers loss, it was very different, especially from a guy like Kellen Moore, who doesn't show us a lot of emotion, but we kind of sensed something a little different.
Yeah,
yesterday.
Listen into the Week 2 Sunday post-game remarks from Kellen Moore.
Really good battle right to the end again. I thought our guys, the play style, everything that we wanted, they brought. There's pain just with losing again, another short one. But it really comes down to we got to do more of what winning football teams do. We got to play better in situational football. We got to pounce on opportunities when they're presented, and we got to give ourselves a better chance. And so there's too much good in there to miss these opportunities. And so we got to play better, faster, learn from these things, and go from there.
All right, listen. Kellen Moore is a very even-keeled person, so when he's excited, it doesn't look that way. Yeah. When he's angry, it doesn't necessarily look that way. He's just very, very even-keeled. So that's frustrated. That's Kellen Moore frustrated. That's what I heard from Moore. And even his praise or his answer about Rattler, who, as we just discussed, played really well. If you go back and listen, we didn't play it, but it was very short. And look, I can tell you one common thing, no matter who you asked about when it came to quarterbacks, he had nothing but praise in every single question you asked Kellen Moore about any of his quarterbacks. He was very quick with his answer. Yeah, he did a good job, but there were some opportunities left out there. He was very quick. Kellen Moore's frustrated. I thought this was important to bring this up. I was very happy to hear that tone from Kellen Moore. Very happy. It's the right tone. This felt way, I've been in locker rooms for a long time, okay? Post-game, a lot of tough losses. Mm-hmm. This is way more in line with how a team usually feels after a close week, a close loss. Remember we said last week, the vibe I got after week 1? I was taken aback by this a little bit, at how, almost felt like how proud of themselves they were by their performance against the Cardinals, even in a loss. It felt like, man, it almost feels like everyone knows this is a kind of a grace period, and it just felt like there were really good vibes despite not playing well enough to win, but almost winning. Kellen Moore, I was a little taken aback by that, but Kellen Moore, remember this, do not forget this. When he left Boise State, was the winningest quarterback in college football history. History. Think about all the great players that have played. Yep. History. He just left the Super Bowl champions. That's what he wants. He wants to win. True, his team has been competitive in 2 games. His team has fought for him in 2 games. The effort is there. through 2 games. Great, wonderful, because we see what it's like when the effort is not there. But that is only the baseline level of what you have to do to be successful in the NFL. The goal is not great effort.
Yep.
Okay? This is the NFL. The goal is to win. And by the way, since when are moral victories celebrated in the NFL?
Yeah.
This is not Troy versus Clemson, where an undermanned team plays well, tries hard, and there's a competitive loss. And by the way, was that really a moral victory? Was it really a moral victory? They played a backup quarterback at home without their all-pro tight end and lost their all-pro fullback, who is as important to an offense as any fullback in the NFL, very early in the game. They didn't take advantage of multiple opportunities, and they fell to 0-2. The head coach shouldn't be happy, and he wasn't. And his team should understand, we are not here to accept losing, to be happy because we fought hard, to be happy that we almost won a game. This is the NFL. None of that. So I'm happy to see this significant tone shift from Kellen Moore, because I was a little taken back after week 1 at just how cozy everything seemed after a close loss. This was another close loss, a little different circumstances. They let one slip away. They were mad about it. And clearly, Kellen Moore wanted to express that to us. And hopefully this filters to the locker room. Like, this is not acceptable. We are here to win. That is the message. It's not to play hard. It's not to have good effort. It is to have good effort, good execution, and win. So I liked it.
You know, I can see why he's upset, because if you told me going into that game, by the way, a game, I called it all last week, the most winnable game on the schedule because of all the circumstances. Mac Jones in that quarterback instead of Brock Purdy. You've got Jawan Jennings banged up. You've got George Kittle out. Kyle Juszczyk, then, and you talked about how important he is in that specific offense, then goes down early in that game. They had offensive linemen banged up as well. All of those things, and they're on the road in the, whether it felt like a road game or not, they were on the road in the Superdome. They were the team going through the trials and tribulations in that situation.
Yeah.
All those things combined, I felt like this was one of, if not the most winnable games on the Saints schedule. And then if you told me going into that game, Spencer Rattler would throw for 207 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, on 25 for 34 passing. Alvin Kamara would rush for 100 yards.
27 touches.
27 touches, which is, again, what we were begging for last week. I said 13 wasn't enough. I need way more touches for AK. Check. Spencer Rattler, take care of the ball. Check. Throw the ball down the field. Check. We need to cut the penalties in half. Check. All of these things that you would look at this game and say these things need to happen for the Saints to win. Every single one of them happened. Even CMC had a good game.
He didn't.
But it's not like he went crazy.
Yeah.
And they still left the Dome with the loss. So I can see why that would frustrate Kellen Moore, because I think he called a good game. Spencer Rattler, I agree, he did leave some opportunities out there, but ultimately Spencer Rattler played a good game. Alvin Kamara, you got the ball in your best player's hands. You know, you committed to the run and you stuck with it. Even when you were down in the second half, they were very consistent in running the ball. They did not give up on the run like they did in week 1 against the Arizona Cardinals.
And it worked.
It did. Like, all of these things happened when your defense needed to make stops and get the ball back to the offense so they could go win the game. Defense made stops. And at the end of the day, the result was still the same in a loss. So I definitely understand Kellen Moore's frustration in that situation.
Yeah, I mean, it's NFL. That team was in a way worse shape than you were. You were at home, although it didn't feel that way at times. And you didn't get the job done. They had a backup quarterback who's been through it. I mean, you know, this is a guy that was laughed off, you know, after his, you know, exit out of New England, backup last year. But, you know, we said it on this pod. It was a title of one of our podcasts. Do not sleep on Mac Jones. Yeah. Because I just felt like with Kyle Shanahan, one thing we forgot to mention, and this was brought up on the national circuit more, Kyle Shanahan wanted to draft Mac Jones. He wanted to draft him. So clearly he had some sort of vision for this player when he was available. And I thought Mac Jones, as good as Spencer Rattler was, matched him. I thought it matched him. I thought he was awesome on third down. I thought he made plays when he had to. I thought, you know, there was the one turnover that he had, but he took care of the football. And, you know, he made plays. And I thought defensively, as good as of a game as Brandon Staley called in week 1, I thought they left a lot to be desired this week. I mean, listen, every NFL defense's dream is to get an opposing offense in 3rd and long. That's the money down. Yeah. Instead, it was the money down for Mac. Old Mac Jones shredded him on 3rd and long. I mean, the touchdown throw to Jawan Jennings, the touchdown throw to Christian McCaffrey was a backbreaker, a beautifully designed play. Look, that's what Kellen Moore is meaning when he says the opportunities are there to pounce and win, and you're not taking advantage. You got a team 3rd and 11. You got 2 drives with the ball in your hand down 5 to march the field. You don't do it. You miss a field goal early, which made a difference if you add up the points.
Yeah. Blake Grupe is someone else.
He better get himself fixed in a hurry.
A lot of kickers getting replaced.
He better get himself fixed in a hurry. So that's why there was frustration from the head coach, and that's what I want to see. I keep saying this. This is the NFL. This is not, FCS versus FBS. Yeah. This is the NFL. Everyone is good, and everyone has top tier players, even if your best ones are down. And when you have the opportunity to win a game, you should do it. And I really feel like the tone from Kellen Moore was less about, we rallied and made it competitive in week 1, so I'm happy about that too. No. We let one slip through our grasp, and I'm not taking this anymore. Yeah. Now, in saying that, they got going to road for the first time this Sunday. We're going to get into that matchup. That's going to be a tough matchup.
It will, and I think we're being fair. It's not like they lost Sunday to the Bills, to the Ravens, to the Eagles, to the Chiefs. They lost to a depleted Niners roster. Winnable game, a game they should have won. They didn't win it, but like we'll talk about all throughout the week, now they go to the West Coast to take on an interesting Seahawks team. We'll see how that one pans out.
Should be fun. I'll be there. I know you'll be here. It'll be fun. All right, Andre Johnson Jr., Sean Fazende. Catch you guys next time on Overtime.